this is a nothing. Yes, did they play perfect? No, they still win. Yes.
What are you doing if the Celtics win the championship?
If the Celtics win championship, I might break my sobriety. I might act up.
We did it! You got him.
All the way.
Celtics versus Heat. Celtics in what?
4.
Celtics versus Knicks. Celtics in
4.
Got Celtics in 4?
Celtics.
Hell yeah.
Use a vocab word from a couple years ago. It's mind-boggling.
That's it, TRG. Let's go. What do you think tonight? You think I'm worried about the Warriors? I ain't worried about the Let's go, baby. 18, baby. Load up the boat.
Why would you say that?
Because
I'm not. No,
recently he's putting up games like.
Above our head for the players.
Literally right now.
But I think when Marcus, especially Marcus, when he got traded, I think that was a wake-up call.
You think right now
Rob,
it's still New York?
I do. And when I think of the Celtics dynasty, honestly, one of the first names that comes to my mind is actually Brad Stevens.
All right, here we go. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the CTW Postgame Show. I am your host, Seamus. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. Alongside of me tonight, Griffin Aldrich, as the Boston Celtics take home another victory on the path towards 60 or maybe even 62, as we were talking about the other night. The Boston Celtics take out the Miami Heat down at South Beach, 103-91. The Boston Celtics without Jaylen Brown tonight. No Kristaps Porzingis, of course, still not in the lineup. Kristaps Porzingis missing a slew of games, but no Jaylen Brown tonight for the Boston Celtics. And it doesn't really matter because the Boston Celtics see a couple of key contributions from players such as Drew Holiday and Derek White, alongside, of course, the patented performance from Jason Tatum we'll get into later tonight. Jason Tatum just continues his hot streak on this 24-25 season, especially against the Miami Heat. But the Boston Celtics as a whole, as a team, tonight pull out the 103-91 victory. Griffin, you're becoming a regular on this program, so you should know the drill by now. What are your initial thoughts on tonight's game?
I feel like it was definitely a game. I want to start off with the intro, Beat the Heat. That's so iconic. And in Boston, that's a big thing. You obviously know this Heat matchup is just a thing that you're anticipating. You're dying to watch the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat. I want to say this is definitely the Eastern Conference rivalry for sure, because obviously the Lakers, but the Heat is the Eastern Conference rivalry for sure. But you said it. What stuck out to me tonight was Drew Holiday, who had an incredible night. I love what I saw from Drew Holiday, and ultimately I feel like it was kind of more so like a slack off night. Like, you know, obviously we have the capability to blow out this team. You know that with Jaylen Brown and Porzingis healthy, we can. But what's his name? Tyler Hero. He said it earlier. He was like, oh, we could beat this Boston Celtics team. And I tell you what, they went out there tonight and they had a darn good shot at it. It's a lot closer than I thought the final score would have ended up being, but we still got the dub. There were things that I wasn't happy about, like in the second quarter, we got outscored 27-20, which kind of messed up the momentum moving forward, as we had a great first quarter scoring 30 opposed to 23. But ultimately, we still got the dub. We changed things up in the fourth quarter, played a lot better defense, and it wasn't the prettiest win of all season, but a win is a win at the end of the day.
Yeah, the Celtics, the theme of the season in a lot of regards is a win is a win. And no matter how pretty that win is a win in the stat category. I mean, that is the ultimate goal of the game of basketball, is to win the game. And that's what the Boston Celtics did tonight. Was it pretty? No, not by a long shot. And I know members of our program in here that aren't here tonight on the broadcast would ultimately say they're annoyed. They're pissed with this result because the Boston Celtics in this particular occasion against this team, who is now 4-13 since the Jimmy Butler trade. The Miami Heat are in record since the Jimmy Butler trade, just spiraling out of control in mediocrity right now. The Miami Heat, if not below mediocrity. But this is a game in which a lot of people expected the Boston Celtics to come in and absolutely dominate and really blow out the Miami Heat. Now, that didn't exactly happen tonight. However, throughout most of this game, this was a jack around game for the Boston Celtics. I mean, really, you kind of already said it. The Boston Celtics came in, they kind of played with their food a little bit tonight. I really thought that on the offensive end of the floor, they could really get whatever they wanted out there. And from that standpoint, defensively, I thought the team was not locked in for half of this game. And the moments in which they wanted to be locked in are the moments in which they went on runs. And that was the same on the offensive end of the floor as well. And I really thought the team, specifically the Boston Celtics, they tonight, they really just played within the margins. They played a game in which they really, if you look at it, they just played in the moments in which they need to play. They played in the moments in which they needed to play in order to win this game. They didn't play the full 48 minutes, is the point here. They really didn't play a full and complete basketball game, but they played timely basketball. The Boston Celtics, looking at what they did early on in this game, they go out to a lead. They surmount a lead over the Miami Heat. And you knew right away, a 14-point lead for the Boston Celtics, that was going to go away, especially early on in the game. A first quarter 14-point lead, that was going to go completely away for the Boston Celtics. And it did. The Miami Heat took the lead midway through the game, and the Boston Celtics saw themselves claw back a little bit. But really, the clawing back, it wasn't some type of claw back from down 10 points, down 15 points. The Celtics didn't dig themselves a hole like that. It was very marginal for the Boston Celtics, very marginal out there on the floor. And really, in those moments is when the timely basketball occurred for the Celtics. It's when the Celtics went on runs, regained a lead, regained some cushion, and the Heat, they'd come back. We saw that 10-0 run by the Boston Celtics late in the fourth quarter there, really at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And the Celtics from there, 10-0 run, they didn't score for the next 4 minutes after that 10-0 run. The Miami Heat came back. But if you look at the box score in the fourth quarter, specifically the score line, the Miami Heat only scored 14 points in that fourth quarter, which tells you something about the Celtics defense at the end of this game and tells you something about the Celtics making a run at the end of this game. But it really shows, too, the Boston Celtics, from a certain standpoint, they weren't challenged tonight. They went 4 minutes without a point, and in the fourth quarter, specifically after a 10-0 run in this game, and the Miami Heat still couldn't make up any ground. They scored 14 points in that fourth quarter, let the Celtics go scoreless for 4 minutes, and couldn't make up too much ground within that time frame. So the Boston Celtics tonight, it was really just timely for them. It was really, oh, we're going to gain a lead, then oh, Miami's going to come back. Oh, they're threatening. Okay, let's put ourselves back on top. Oh, they're threatening again. Okay, let's go on another run and win this. That's really the type of vibe it was for the Boston Celtics tonight. It wasn't a full force dominant game whatsoever. And really looking at the lead tracker tonight, everything I just talked about, you can see within this lead tracker. The Miami Heat, you mentioned it, the Miami Heat went ahead there in that third quarter, and really it was back and forth for a portion of that third quarter at the end of the third and even to start the third quarter. But the Miami Heat did have a little bit of control there, but you really only see a 5-point lead was the biggest lead of the night for the Miami Heat. Boston up to a 14-point lead tonight. Did that in the first quarter, but eventually reestablished their lead of 14 points later on in the game, late in the fourth quarter, right before the end. And that is typically what you would like to see from the Boston Celtics, is finishing a game strong. Even though this game isn't pretty, you see a lot of dips, you see some leads for the Miami Heat in there. The Boston Celtics finish this one strong. And tonight, the Celtics come out with the victory in Miami. But looking at the Celtics specifically down the stretch, there was no Jaylen Brown in this game, no Kristaps Porzingis. Of course, the look is going to be different for the Boston Celtics, but the Miami Heat, the Celtics are playing this Miami Heat team for the second time since the trade deadline. So they've seen this version of the Miami Heat before. Now, this particular Miami Heat team, a little bit different from the trade deadline. The record a lot worse now. I mean, they're supposed to be coming along, supposed to be gathering that team chemistry, but we really haven't seen it all that much yet from the Miami Heat, specifically this version of the Miami Heat. But from the Boston Celtics tonight, they were able to pull this game out down the stretch against a mediocre Heat team. Now, a theme of this Celtics team, though, this season has been the fact of the Celtics not really giving Celtic Nation too much to be excited about in terms of dominant wins. They've been winning in between the margins, really going into games lackadaisical at times, just barely pulling out games, and in some instances, just losing terrible games. This game tonight, it's going to be seen as a solid win, a win that nobody's really going to pay attention to at the end of the day, but it still goes along with the theme of Celtics gained a lead, gave it away, kind of played with their food a little bit, and then eventually had to make a run at the end to pull this one out, although it was in control for most of the night. Now, considering this trend we've seen lately from the Boston Celtics, is there some concern from you, Griffin, that this trend from the Boston Celtics might bite the Boston Celtics come playoff time, considering this Boston Celtics team? They don't always play hard, and we just saw the other night. Really hard playing team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, came into the Garden, really whooped around the Boston Celtics, and that could be a finals matchup later on down the line. Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals in the second round, not going to be easy for the Boston Celtics. Do you see this trend as a little bit concerning for the Celtics?
I mean, yes, Seamus, it definitely is concerning for me because I will say last year we didn't have much during regular season that we were concerned about. The Boston Celtics would go on runs and then they would occasionally lose a game or two. Very few games last year, but we obviously had that rough stretch this year, and then you obviously see, like I said, the Celtics making bad habits. And the bad habits, like you said mentioned earlier, is the Celtics getting up by 14 and then blowing that lead, which I said it already. We almost lost that Utah Jazz game because of the bad habits. I mean, we are up by so much and then we just fell. With Cleveland, same thing. And LA, same thing, but we managed to win that one. But it's just bad habits. I think the Boston Celtics need to start playing with more intensity because once you get into playoffs, it's going to have to be intense basketball the whole time. And when you get into playoffs, and if you're not used to playing intense basketball for 48 minutes, then that's going to come around and bite you in the ass. Like it really is how it is because they're not used to playing with the teams full force for 48 minutes. I mean, like you said too, I kind of want to mention on this, no KP tonight. Obviously you saw him shooting around in Miami today, which I love that. Obviously shakes off our nerves a little bit, I think, from the other night when we saw that tweet from him. Definitely makes us less concerned, I feel like. What are your thoughts on that? I want
I'm just confused. I mean, take out the concern level of me. I'm confused now because viral illness, to me, sounds not great, and I really question, is that with his actual health, like his bodily health, or is that viral illness dealing with something in regard to his surgically repaired legs from last year, really leg, I should say, Kristaps Porzingis. I'm a little confused as to why he's traveling on the road, he's at the games, he's shooting around, but this is an illness.
Can
I
I
mean, that's where I'm a little. Go ahead.
Now, does that make you kind of lean towards Randy's and I's point kind of more so now?
Well, to me,
A little bit slightly.
I'm still, I believe that Kristaps Porzingis had an illness. Here's why. Because I don't believe the team would hold him out specifically 2 weeks. I don't think the Boston Celtics would hold out Kristaps Porzingis for 2 weeks and then want to recondition him back into the lineup right before the final stretch of the regular season, because right now that's what they're doing. I mean, they just held him out for 2 weeks of play. Now it's going over 2 weeks of play, and all of a sudden Kristaps Porzingis, what I'm seeing now, what I'm speculating now, is he was actually out with a legitimate illness.
Yeah.
He just got better from it probably before the Lakers game. If you think about the 2-game series, he probably got better between the Philadelphia Portland game, somewhere in that time frame before the Lakers game. And now, ever since that point, the Celtics are actually reconditioning him back into play. I think that's what we're seeing right now from Kristaps Porzingis, because if he's traveling with the team, he's shooting around before games, he's getting after it on floor, even though he's not playing. That kind of signals to me they're ramping him up to eventually play, and that he actually did have an illness, say a week ago, but at that point in time, he needed to be reconditioned coming out of the illness. And when he did, which was probably before the Laker game, because if we were speculating, oh, he was actually fine for the Laker game, he could have been fine for that Laker game, but then the team actually wants him to kind of ramp up back into play, or even himself, like the plan for him coming back after a certain period of time was to ramp up back into play. And now I think we're seeing that play out with Kristaps Porzingis. But yeah, that tweet last week definitely didn't give us any positive signs for when he could potentially be back. And I think this week, though, from everything else outside of the tweet, I mean, seriously, everything else. I mean, from the I believe we had Bobby Kravitsky on the other night, which everybody go check out that interview up on the Celtics Talk Weekly YouTube channel, of course, after this post game. But we had Bobby Kravitsky on, and he gave an update to us on the program that day about Kristaps Porzingis shooting around in practice. Even gave an update on Drew Holiday as well, and we'll get more into Drew Holiday a little bit later. But seems like both, if you were talking about Holiday and Porzingis, seems like we've had positive updates on both guys, because Holiday obviously out there, tremendous night tonight, but Kristaps Porzingis has been practicing with the team, he's been traveling with the team. Obviously, lately too, the team wasn't traveled with the team to Miami, of course, but Kristaps Porzingis too. We're just getting update after update that he's closer, questionable. And that tweet last week just kind of seems like it's now far away from us. And I almost wonder, that we don't see that tweet. We're probably not. We're probably still raising some questions about Kristaps, no doubt. I think that tweet actually put a little bit of a pin in the timeline for us to kind of go, okay, this is when this happened. We knew, because if we didn't have that tweet, I think right now we would still be like, what is going on with Kristaps? We have the tweet. We know it wasn't identified. We know he's dealing with it, trying to work his way back. And then everything after that, it feels like it's almost a downhill slope into him eventually coming back. Do you feel that way as well?
Yeah, I feel like kind of it's still one where you said it last time, kind of a eyebrow raiser in a sense, kind of. I feel like it's still one where we'd be concerned, because if we kept seeing illness by this point, we'd be like, wait, illness, what are we talking about? Because illnesses aren't a whole month long. I don't know exactly how long he's been out, but definitely would be concerning. So I feel like, in a sense, the tweet helped us fans more, because like it gave us an understanding, still a huge concern, but it kind of helped us in a sense, because now we have a better understanding of it, rather than if it just kept saying illness and we're like, where's Porzingis at? But I'm going to go back to my take that I said last time. I think he should just stay off social media, because remember he said that, remember against the Lakers game, will you be playing? Yes. Like, Porzingis, calm down. I know you're excited to get back on the floor, but Celtics fans get worked up for sure. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean that's kind of part of the game of the media, and it's new age media too. So I mean, really, you have all of the national media, the local media, the team outlets, but then you really, what people don't always consider, and I would say they maybe do so more nowadays, but it's the players too. They also have access to the public in any way they want on social media, and we've seen in the past some players that can turn out very positively for them or very negatively, depending on how they use that new tool, the new age tool of social media, and just being really personal on social media. We see Kristaps Porzingis when that came out, when that tweet came out, we were speculating that the PR team didn't write this. Nobody for Kristaps's team wrote this, whether it was Kristaps's PR team or the Celtics PR team, and nobody wrote this. It was Kristaps Porzingis. First of all, I mean, some words were just straight up misspelled within there. No offense, Kristaps. So we saw that. But at the secondly, there were some Kristaps terms in there, like I'm coming back, I'm playing better. There's some Kristaps isms, if you want to call it, right? Kristaps isms in there. But at the same time, the way he said it's like, I don't know what's going on yet. I mean, that freaked out everybody. I mean, let's face it too. On Twitter, you can put the two eye emojis, which now the era is over. Okay, it was 2017, it was 2016. If a player put the two eye emojis out there, it was, oh my goodness, you're getting the best free agent. You're getting the best trade asset of all time. I mean, in the summer, if you put the eye emojis out there, Isaiah Thomas putting the eye emojis, it's like, oh, we're getting Kevin Durant right now. So it's like people just overreact over emojis, players doing emojis, which nowadays I think it's kind of simmered down, because players like to kind of toy with people out there, But nowadays, I would say, still, regardless of the emoji take, it's it's still a world where we overreact over things like what Kristaps Porzingis put out there, um, not on the floor, but on the Twitter board out there.
Yeah.
But speaking of on the floor tonight, the Boston Celtics, of course, take home the victory over the Miami Heat. And down the stretch, we already talked about the Celtics only allowing 14 points to the Miami Heat in the fourth quarter, and the Celtics really needing that fourth quarter to go and run in front of the Miami Heat. The rest of this game, outside of the 14-point lead in that first quarter for the Boston Celtics, it was really back and forth, back and forth. Miami did have a couple of leads there in the third quarter, but it was back and forth for most of this contest. And it wasn't a very fast paced contest either. The Miami Heat only 75 shots tonight. What you actually like to see for the Boston Celtics is 83 shots on the night for the Boston Celtics. Now, not necessarily the number of shots, just the discrepancy. And the Celtics took 8 more shots than the Miami Heat. That's what we like to look at with field goal attempts. If you're just taking extra field goal attempts, well, you have extra opportunities to get points, and points wins you the game of basketball, of course, whether you can prevent them or score them. But down the stretch, the Celtics did both preventing and scoring of points. And really, from your perspective, Griffin, what did the Celtics do down the stretch that stifled the Miami Heat, only held the Miami Heat to 14 points? And offensively, what did the Celtics do in order to run ahead of the Miami Heat?
I mean, for the fourth quarter, I put it down obviously when the scoring outcome was 25-14 in the fourth quarter. But I wrote down one simple note, and I just said good defense. I think that's all that needed to be said from the Boston Celtics. But no, it was kind of like what you said earlier, Seamus, how they were kind of playing around with the Miami Heat, kind of letting them get back into the game. And there were points in the game where I was getting concerned, and I was like, wow, this Miami Heat team is really scaring me because I feel like they're going to come back and win this. And I'm like, what if they get momentum and they push the Celtics off? And the Celtics shut me up in the fourth quarter. They're like, calm down, everything's good. They halted the brakes on them. And the thing I love to see is just, I didn't even write this down, was just Derek White. It kind of amazes me how, like, when he's hitting his threes, he's doing a fantastic job. There was a point where it was such a deep three, and I was like, is it going to go in? Because it was like a Peyton Pritchard type three, and he splashed it. It was incredible. So I love that. I loved his performance, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and just I thought he played just a key role in this win too. So I feel like you could even mention him for player spotlight totally. And like I want to say too, Tatum had a quiet 28. Like, we got to talk about that for sure, which Tatum, it was kind of like a night where he kind of slacked off, obviously being questionable. And there was a lot of rumors of him and Brown, obviously Brown not playing, but Tatum wasn't at the optional shoot around this morning. So maybe that could kind of put some cause to why Tatum didn't have bigger night, but still 28 points, got the job done. I also liked Walsh getting some early minutes, but ultimately you were talking about the fourth quarter, and I think in the fourth quarter, they really just held the brakes on defense, locked everyone up, and I was just impressed with what I saw in the fourth quarter, and I loved it. Like what you said, it was consistent all the way through. And in that fourth quarter, keeping the Miami Heat to 14 points just shows how good this defense can be, because there's been a lot of concerns with the defense. And now we see great defense being played, and I loved it.
Yeah, it's speaking of the fourth quarter, looking at the numbers here, 5 of 20 from the Miami Heat in the fourth quarter, which included 2 of 8 from Andrew Wiggins. Jaime Jaquez was 1 of 4. Tyler Hero, 1 of 3. Davion Mitchell, 1 of 2. Everybody else, Adebayo, Kalel Ware, Pelle Larson, they were a combined 0 of 3. Duncan Robinson didn't take a shot despite playing 5 minutes in the fourth quarter. So everybody on the Miami Heat struggled in that fourth quarter period and the Boston Celtics, they only allowed 14 points. And meanwhile, in that fourth quarter too, you mentioned Derek White in there. Derek White, he's really been the floor setter, we've called him on this program, of this Boston Celtics team. And he's been one of the biggest X factors in this Celtics turnaround this season, because at a certain point in the year, the Celtics were just putting up straight 500 stretches. I mean, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, literally back and forth, back and forth. And at a certain point in time, the Celtics were 8-8 in 16 games. And it was probably even worse than that. It was probably 11-9 in 20 games, 10-10 in 20 games for the Boston Celtics. But the Celtics have completely shed that portion of themselves since January, really the beginning of February as well. And a huge correlation into the Celtics shedding that portion of their game, the 500 type side of the Celtics, it's been Derek White. Derek White, his confidence level, his comfortability level within the Celtics offense, and his effort on the defensive end of the floor, where it's gone this season and the trajectory it's been on this season from the start, where Derek White started the season very well in October, November, December, started to really fall off there, and January just completely fell off the cliff until February, when Derek White all of a sudden regained his confidence within his shot, regained his confidence with the ball in his hands, regained his patience as well. And Derek White, if you look at when Derek White started to play well this season and when the Boston Celtics really rid themselves of that 500 stretch of basketball, it's around the same time. And Derek White, it's no doubt, looking at this season, looking at all of the numbers of the Celtics and Derek White, that Derek White sets the floor for this Boston Celtics club and really raises their level at the end of the day as well. But Derek White tonight, 12 points in the fourth quarter, and he was 4 of 7 from the field in the fourth quarter, 3 of 5 overall. And then for the night, Derek White, just looking at the entirety of this game, Derek White was 7 of 18, 3 of 11 from 3, 18 points. But if you really look at his stat line tonight and look at the fourth quarter scoring versus the rest of the game, Derek White didn't have that great of a game for most of the night. Yet the fourth quarter, Derek White shows up in the biggest ways, hitting shots from downtown, making defensive plays, making his scoring presence known for this Boston Celtics club. But for this game tonight, Derek White, just looking at his the entirety of his the stat sheet for Derek White, the entirety of his body of work, especially in the fourth quarter, how important was Derek White in pulling this game out for the Boston Celtics?
Super important. I mean, you saw some of the shots that he was taking in the fourth quarter, and like I said, they were kind of like Peyton Pritchard shots. They were very like a couple of them were deep threes, and you talk about it like 12 points when he had 18 tonight. That's most of his points in the fourth quarter, and without those points, I feel like it would have been hard to win against this Miami Heat team. I mean, if you wanted to give a fourth quarter hero, you could definitely give that to Derek White, because I think he was the catalyst behind kind of the points for the Boston Celtics. But yeah, I mean, Derek White, you mentioned it already, is just incredible. And you saw when the Boston Celtics were struggling, Derek White was in a rough place, and he mentioned it. He's like, I don't know why I'm struggling right now. And he was hurt. Like because what has made the Celtics thrive so much in the last few years is getting Derek White. Derek White has been a key piece to this team, and seeing him not performing to his best capability is a missing puzzle piece. And you saw that. You just said it, how bad the Celtics were, like going kind of very inconsistent game to game, kind of lose one, win one. And now that Derek White is back and, giving his best effort for the Boston Celtics, look what's happening. I mean, this is a game that you could easily say, look, the Miami Heat gained the momentum and they won the game. But Derek White turned it around in the fourth quarter. And I want to say I'm going to give him the role that he was a fourth quarter hero tonight. I don't know if you agree with that, but I think just his play tonight in the fourth quarter just won this game for the Boston Celtics.
I think that's objectively true. Fourth quarter hero. I mean, 12 points in the fourth quarter. Derek White nearly outscored the Miami Heat by himself in the fourth quarter. And looking at the end of this game, it's a 12-point game. If Derek White only scores in the fourth quarter, the Celtics, they still win this game. They still win this game at the end of the day. Wait, am I correct on that? Well, let's see. I don't know. Right? I think they would probably lose this game.
Lose it by one. One.
Well, regardless. I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, they don't win this game. But regardless, the Derek White, if you look at his points, I mean, 12 points in the fourth quarter, what he did in terms of his shot selection, and really, Derek White, to me, I look at all the players out there on the Boston Celtics, and a thought that comes into my mind is all of these guys, they played into the playoffs for multiple seasons now, deep into the playoffs. Drew Holiday with the Milwaukee Bucks, now with the Boston Celtics. Derek White, just with the Boston Celtics since 2022. Al Horford for his entire career. Brown and Tatum, their entire careers with the Boston Celtics. And what's impressive to me is how when you're at that level of experience and you're at that seasoning within your game, specifically talking on the veterans, right? It's amazing to see how in a game like tonight's game is, and we saw the Boston Celtics just kind of slack off in this game, like we're talking about right now. I mean, really for a large portion of the night, the Celtics, they were not playing their best brand of basketball. I mean, let's just be honest. They were not playing their best brand of basketball whatsoever. And coming into tonight, you just came off a big home stretch if you're the Boston Celtics, specifically a big game against the Oklahoma City Thunder the other night. In tonight's game, you're playing an opponent that just is, again, 4-13 in the last 17 games since the Jimmy Butler trade. The Heat are falling apart. And the Celtics, if you against the Heat tonight, it wasn't a game that the Celtics wanted to get up for. It wasn't a game that you would see a bunch of people. I know it's the Heat rivalry, the Celtics Heat rivalry, but I just don't see a bunch of people, unless you're a diehard Celtics fan, I don't see a bunch of people being interested in this game. I really don't. I don't see somebody going, oh, look, it's the potential 2-7 matchup in the East. I got to turn this on. I mean, the Miami Heat, they are the definition of mediocre right now, and they're nowhere near where they were in the Jimmy Butler era at the moment. They're really in they're like the Bulls light, right? I shouldn't even say the Bulls light, but they're the beefier version of the Bulls right now, where the Chicago Bulls for years had some talents, had some all-star sort of with a Zach LaVine level talent, DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, maybe some B-list, C-list all-stars depending on the year. And the Chicago Bulls, they were just kind of swimming around in mediocrity. That's where the Miami Heat find themselves now, is right in that pool of mediocrity where Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, all-stars at some point in time, but they're the C-listers of the All-Star game. They're the B-listers of the All-Star game. And the Miami Heat, they're just not a matchup for the Boston Celtics that the Celtics are looking at and going, that's a big game on the schedule. No, the Celtics went into tonight going, can we get this one out of the way? I mean, it's why Jaylen Brown rested in this ball game. And with now 15 games left in the season, we're going to start to see a lot of these games pop up on the schedule. And this one's actually, I don't want to say alarming for what's going to come within the schedule. It's not alarming for the team. I'm not saying anything about that. I'm saying it about the care within the game. The who are we resting, who's really caring within the games. If the Celtics don't really care versus the Heat, who could be a potential first round matchup, you expect the Celtics to care against the Nets? Do you expect the Celtics to care against the Hornets, against the Blazers, against the Jazz? The last couple of weeks against some of these teams in the season, if you look at the West Coast road trip and some of the other games on the schedule, I do not expect the Boston Celtics to care for a lot of these games. And tonight, I think they showed that to us. But the thing that impressed me is really my long-winded point here is the veteran players on this Celtics squad. They came up with timely moments. And I kind of I'm reiterating it now from earlier in the post game, how the Celtics, they played timely basketball tonight. It felt like they just did enough to win this game. And for some people, that might rub them the wrong way. But for me, I look at it and go, well, this is a veteran squad. They're trying to go back to back. They don't care about this game. They went out there and won. They went out there and won the ball game. I never felt like it was in question. I felt like, yes, the Heat, they're right there with the Celtics. They're going back and forth. But there was not a part of me that felt like, oh, the Celtics, they have just completely lost. They completely lost hold of this game. And they're not going to come out with a win here against the Miami Heat. I never thought that way within the game at any point in time. And I view the entirety of this ball game, the Celtics, there was control from the Boston Celtics. I mean, you look at the lead tracker, there was control at the beginning, there's control at the end, in the middle, yes. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Griffin. I own
I think we lost him. So I'll take it over right now. Just to add on to that point, I feel like the Boston Celtics, just to kind of add on to that veteran presence, I mean, tonight it was key players like Drew Holiday to keep the Boston Celtics in it, and you're back. Sorry.
Okay, just to disclaim everybody, I live in the St. Louis area, so keep that in mind. Not up in the Northeast. Uh, there are storms rolling through the area right now,
Oh,
so
geez.
I got a tornado warning on my phone. I was going to
I know.
disclaim that at the beginning of the post game, and even with you before post game, where I was like, just to let you know, storms rolling through the area. Might get an alert on my phone at one point in time. Might have to move locations. Power might go out. The show is going to go on. Okay,
The
so
show will
the show's
go on.
going to go on.
It will go on.
Regardless, that's what I'm here to say right now. But I was just I was like at the beginning of the show, I was gonna go, okay, folks, just to let you know, if my phone goes off right now,
I'll take it
we're
over.
gonna get a
Don't worry.
tornado.
I got you. I got you. Well, hope everything's all good there. Like, just making sure. Like,
Yeah. I'm honestly like,
yeah.
I'm like, should I? It's like, am I gonna be good right now? It's like, should I move locations? I'm upstairs is the thing, and it's like I'm by this big tree. It's like I
I
don't know.
would wait. So the tornado is coming by you. You're saying?
Well, let me. Let's see what we got here.
Um,
First of all, yeah, all right.
that's
Okay, okay. I'm gonna have to let's see.
if you need, I can take it over for you when you.
Okay, okay. Let me just get an update here real quick.
Yeah. So
But go keep
that's
talking here and let me get updated here on what I need
yeah,
to do.
for sure. I'm gonna get into kind of like what you already mentioned, just kind of the upcoming series for the Boston Celtics. I feel like I love the point that you said, where kind of you're gonna see more players resting because coming up, it's those games where tonight there wasn't a lot of effort for the Boston Celtics. I thought they kind of played slacking throughout the game. They slacked off. And that's what you're going to see upcoming games. And that's why I do kind of agree with you at that point where they can kind of miss out on that 60 win point, because for the Boston Celtics, I mean, they're going to play lazy a lot of these games, and it's not their fault. But that's just when I tried to say my point. That's where the G League players need to step up, like Baylor Shireman and JD Davison. And that's when they need to take
All
control.
right, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move.
Yeah, good point, because tornadoes, that's not good. Yeah, but I'll continue on with that point. So just that's when the G League players need to step up and just be in a better role, because the Boston Celtics, if you keep slacking off, that's when you're going to lose a lot of games. And that's completely fine for sure, because I feel like we just need to clinch that playoff spot. And once we get to playoffs, we're just going to become a good team. But I just feel like it's the bad habits for me. And I've mentioned that already several times, that the bad habits are just going to kill you when you come to playoffs. Now, I don't think they could lose the playoffs. I think they're going to be successful, and I think there will be success. And ultimately, I think the Boston Celtics are going to get banner 19 this year. I just think the road to it is going to be a lot more challenging if they don't take games more seriously. But at the same time, I mean, you got to understand that it's rest. The Boston Celtics need rest. You think about it in the playoffs. The thing that makes this team so special is because they are healthy. And when this team is at its full capacity with Porzingis, obviously Drew Holiday, who's been dealing with that mallet finger, obviously we talked about, Seamus has talked about kind of what it's been. And I mean, look at what he did tonight. But when Porzingis, Holiday, and Derek White, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown are all performing at their best, that's when the Boston Celtics are key. And, if that means that we're going to lose some games and kind of coast a little more so throughout the rest of this regular season, I'm fine with that if we go into playoffs being healthy. That's my only concern for the Boston Celtics. I want a healthy playoffs, because essentially that's the only way I feel like the Boston Celtics are going to go back to back, is having a healthy team. Now, if we were, I'm not saying this because Porzingis is doing good and he's kind of working his way back. Obviously, we've seen a lot of progression with Kristaps Porzingis, but I'm saying this, even without Porzingis, I feel like, and I've said this the other night, I feel like the Boston Celtics could still, go back to back. It's going to be challenging. And I love this take that I said, because as an NBA fan, all right, as a Boston Celtics diehard fan, 100%, they could do it without Porzingis. But as an NBA like viewer, like just watching the whole NBA, yes, the Boston Celtics can do it, but it would be more challenging. I mean, you have the Cavs who are on a dominating run this season, who kind of give flashbacks to the Boston Celtics last year. And then you have obviously OKC, who's been on a complete tear. I said this, they definitely remind me of the 2023-2024 Boston Celtics. I mean, the only thing that they're lacking is kind of that veteran presence, but the OKC Thunder, they're fast, they're young, kind of reminds me, I think Franco said it the other night, of kind of when 2022, when we were young and kind of fresh like that, off to a hot start. So they're definitely going to compete, and they're going to be a key factor moving forward for sure. So to kind of get to my point with that, with Porzingis, is I think the Boston Celtics are going to do it. If obviously, now I'm saying Porzingis is going to come back healthy. I mean, you see him making progression. I was definitely a little alarmed when I saw that tweet go out, because Seamus went into detail and kind of like made it seem like, all right, look, it could be surgery and stuff like that. And like it could be some infection. And that's definitely a lot more alarming than what me and Randy were thinking. Randy and I were thinking kind of it maybe being like, all right, he was sick for a portion of it, and then maybe it's kind of more so to get rest. But I think ultimately you're going to see players kind of like you saw with Jaylen Brown tonight. Jaylen Brown isn't injured. He's just getting rest. You're going to see kind of it be more so like that Al Horford thing when it's his sprained left big toe. Obviously, you guys see that a lot with the back-to-back nights. Al Horford actually did end up playing tonight, but you're going to see a lot more rest when it comes into these later stages of the season for sure. And I'm personally excited for that, because I like you guys know, I'm a big Maine Celtics guy, and I watch the G League all the time. And I'm excited to see what Baylor Shireman can do, because I know he's going to get a lot of minutes. You have Drew Peterson, who's going to become a great asset to the team too. And then you also have, you have other key players like JD Davison that could finally show you what he can do and kind of shine, because I feel like he's gotten an opportunity with Boston, but he hasn't had a big opportunity. And we talked about this the other night too, with Neemias Queta kind of stepping up and getting more minutes than Xavier Tillman. Because with Tillman hasn't, he's had opportunities to play for the Boston Celtics, and he kind of, I like the point that I mentioned the other night with Xavier Tillman, is kind of when Tillman is ready to play, he doesn't. Like there's been a few times this season where it was a game that Xavier Tillman would have definitely played. I feel like there were big stars out. I don't remember exactly what game it was. It might have been the Hornets or something. I'm not sure, but Tatum was out or something like that. And no, it was Porzingis. It was at the center depth, and Tillman would have played, but he was out. Like, so I'm excited to see what he can do. And I think the biggest thing for me is, yeah, we might blow some games. I think ultimately he'll still get to the 60 win point, because I want to put it out there. I want to be positive and think towards that. But I think the road there is going to be challenging, because you're going to be getting these players who have been unexperienced and haven't played a lot this season. They're going to step up and get a lot more minutes. And that's good. But at the same time, you're like, all right, well, what's going to happen? Like, what are we going to see from the Boston Celtics moving forward? And that's completely fine, because I think essentially too, it gets them ready for playoffs. So at the same time, I think that's fine. But that kind of wraps up my take on that. So I'm going to get more in depth with oh, you're back. And a new hat. Where'd the hat go? What is this? What is this? Hold on. This was
Okay. Well, first of all,
the hat's gone. and the glasses.
Yeah.
Wait, were you wearing the
Wait,
glasses?
what are we? Wait, hold up. Let me. Why is my camera all weird right now? What's going on?
Okay. So
Okay, I don't know.
out by a tornado. That's what I'm asking
I
because
think we're gonna be fine, but things we're definitely getting a little they were
hectic.
getting a little rough right there for a moment. Here, let me try to.
That's dedication. Doing this during a tornado.
I
That's
mean, well, no. I mean, first of all, you're the real MVP of this entire program right now. I should have put my tripod down here. What am I doing? I I don't know. I don't know what I should.
my
I'm
first.
I'm in the basement right now. Okay, folks, I'm in the basement. I'm safe. I think we're gonna be fine. All
Oh
right,
yeah,
but we did get hit with the PDS tornado warning, which is a little bit worse than a normal tornado warning.
yeah.
That is. At the same time, you could hear it outside. I mean, I don't know if you could hear it on stream, but you could hear the thunder. The hail started coming down. The wind is going crazy. The wind was going crazy the entire live stream behind me, and then the sirens were going off
Holy.
two behind me. So had to run down to the basement, grab a couple things. But yeah, I mean, I knew at the beginning of the day, it's like, oh, these storms supposed to be coming through St. Louis at 9, 10 o'clock. I'm going. That's about the time of post game. That's about the time post game. I have
Oh
a different hat on.
yeah. What?
I have no glasses. I had to just throw everything off, and I don't have a jacket either right now. So I'm a completely like I feel like I could pull off like the whole twin thing right now. Like, oh,
Yeah. So
that
do
was
you have
James.
a
This is
twin?
Seamus.
Do you have a twin? Is that what's coming out of this? Or this is your twin,
That's
right?
how I make all these appearances on post games, folks. I have
No,
a
because
twin,
I
of course.
noticed. This is my first time seeing you without glasses. If I'm being honest, because you had the sunglasses on and then your regular glasses.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, just had to say that was the first time.
Oh, this is the
Well,
problem about. Yeah, can I get
let's.
to the different? Let me try to sit down here. Can I sit down in the
So
corner?
is like the
Let's try to
tornado
sit
like
down.
coming right? Like, is it right by you right now?
Apparently so.
Jeez.
If you were to look at a map, it's probably like. Oh, I left my phone over here.
That's dedication.
I left
Doing
my
this
phone
during
over
a
here.
tornado. I'm
Okay,
just well, prayers with you.
terrible angle, folks. Sorry.
Yeah. But I kind of I don't know if you heard that. I kind of just got into kind of like what I am expecting coming up with kind of how with the Boston Celtics, I see a lot of kind of G League players playing, and like essentially, yeah, they might blow some, but at the same time, that's going to get them kind of strength and conditioned for our postseason run.
Yeah, I think these games are important for really knowing what you can get out of some of the end of the bench. And the Celtics, they don't, it's not that important for them to really find that, although it is somewhat important for them to find that with the Sam Hauser position, whether you can play Jordan Walsh a little bit, whether you can play Baylor Sharman a little bit come playoff time. And then Sam Hauser, I think what we talked about it on a program already, how we think the Boston Celtics are going to ride with Sam Hauser, even though you see guys like Walsh and Shireman, Torrey Craig as well. Got to give him the word too, because Celtics signed him at the trade deadline as a buyout guy to really bolster that forward lineup off the bench. Which, if there was any forward lineup off the bench, if you really talk about it or look at it for the Boston Celtics, um, I I look at that spot and I go, it's not that important. But at the same time, you want to get something out of it. You want to know with these other guys what you can get if Sam Hauser is really causing you trouble in a playoff series. But I think at the end of the day, Joe Mazzulla does die on a hill with some of these guys or some of the guys within his lineup, whether that's been in the past with some guys like Grant Williams, or now that could be a guy like Sam Hauser on the Celtics bench. And now my cat is in here with me, and I feel like she's getting ready to meow. But that's just I don't know if you have a cat, Griffin. That's also a thing on Celtics
Oh,
Talk Weekly.
trust me, there's a lot of cats here, so yeah.
Oh, you hear it in the background. Oh, I don't know if you could hear, but I hold up. Got it. This is what happens. This is what happens when storms roll through
Dude.
when you're live streaming. All right,
Well,
there
I'm
she goes.
glad
There she
everyone's
goes.
safe. Yeah, I gotta see. It's funny. We did something on my program. My younger brother has wiener dogs, and when last year this is the first you're hearing about the wiener dog dance. So last year during the postseason run, every win we would play this Boston Celtics song, and they would do the wiener dog dance. Just something hilarious. It was funny. It was funny. Yeah, pets are definitely a part of the Celtics. I'm telling you.
Well, they're a part of this program as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had a million. It feels like we've had a million different cats on this program at various different times. It really does. We've had guests with cats. We've had just our normal hosts. Everybody. We've had a cat all at once. I mean, I've had. I feel like I've had my cat on, and then another post game. I got jealous because I'm sitting there. Everybody had their cats on. I'm going.
You didn't have your cat.
It's like she's always around, always at my feet, always kind of meowing around, and it's like that one occasion, like every cat showed up, and then it's like, oh, where's she at? But I never want to see Franco's cat mask. Okay, don't ever ask to see that.
There's like cat mask.
Never
What?
asked to see
Franco
that. Never asked to see that.
Okay, so Franco has the shades that pull apart and a cat mask. Does he not have a cat? Is that why?
I don't know if Franco has a cat. I don't know. We have that. He has to answer that on here himself. I will say. I mean,
is that what he does to kind of like make up for it? That he doesn't have a cat, so he has a cat mask. Franco has a cat mask. All right.
Yes, he does. He does. Seriously, yeah. Franco, that cat mask is a thing of nightmares, though.
Oh,
it is.
Oh man. I gotta see it now. I gotta see it. Listen, next win, he gotta pull out the cat mask. You gotta pull out the cat.
I just said we can't. You don't want to ask to see it. You don't want it. Don't ask to see it. Never ask to see it.
We gotta.
You're like, next win.
Yes, next win. The Boston Celtics.
Well, you got to be on the post game too for it, because I'm not asking for it. I'm not asking for it from Franco if I'm the only one here. That's what I'm gonna say about that.
No, I'm saying next time I'm on it. Well, it'll be soon anyways. But like, I got to see the cat mask. Now I got to. Now I'm invested.
I will say it's one of those things you mention it. You're like, once you mention it, you gotta see it to believe it. But regardless, touching back here on the Celtics.
Yeah.
Since we're still on that direction, I do want to bring up our player spotlight tonight. Mr. Drew Holiday, of course, our player spotlight brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek, use code Celtics Weekly at checkout of your first purchase for 20% off your SeatGeek purchase. Don't forget to use code Celtics Weekly. SeatGeek, of course, providing you all of your in-arena seats and getting you in the doors at games across the sports world. SeatGeek, our sponsor of Player Spotlight. But our Player Spotlight tonight, Drew Holiday, 25 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 stocks. One of those was a steal. 2 of them were blocks. Could be the other way around. 10 of 15 from the floor, 5 of 8 from 3. Drew Holiday. This is a player we saw a lot last season win the player spotlight, or player of the game as it was called last season, within the Celtics Talk Weekly program. But this season, it's been bone dry for Drew Holiday. We have not seen very many player spotlights, if any, out of Drew Holiday this entire season yet. Late in the year, Drew Holiday, a player who's been questionable for a good margin of this year, a good portion of this season with his play, whether it's been his injuries, not being on the floor, not being available, or just simply within Drew Holiday's play on the floor. We've questioned Drew Holiday at his age a lot this season, and whether he can give the Celtics all that he did last playoff run in this upcoming playoff run. Yet tonight, Drew Holiday feels like a ramp-up game a little bit for Drew Holiday. 25 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 stocks. Of course, again, 10 of 15 from the floor, 5 of those 10 makes coming from beyond the arc. Drew Holiday was excellent tonight for the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics, this is a player that right now, these type of performances, they never come. They absolutely never come. We are never watching Drew Holiday perform the way he did tonight, putting up 25 points. This was his season high, past a previous season high of 23 points, which came early in December. So just looking at all the scoring numbers for Drew Holiday, not been productive for the Boston Celtics in terms of scoring this year, been definitely down since last season, just an overall production for Drew Holiday. And this game, I'm not going to sit here and get excited over this game and say, well, this game for Drew Holiday, does this mean something on the horizon for Drew? Because quite frankly, we haven't seen a lot of these games
No.
from Drew Holiday at all this season, which makes me believe we're probably not going to see a ton of these games moving forward. But at the same time, Drew Holiday did play well, and he's been injured as of late with that mallet finger and, of course, that shoulder before the mallet finger. Now, does this game to you tonight, Griffin, signal that Drew Holiday is closer to 100% health than we're giving him credit for?
That's kind of a difficult question, I feel like, because 100% health, I don't think he'll be, from the things I've heard from you and from the things I've heard, I don't think he'll be at 100% health till after the postseason. But I think for Drew Holiday tonight, I was very impressed with his play. I think kind of you said it that he doesn't score like this a lot, but I think that's simply because he's not expected to here. I mean, his role on the Boston Celtics is to be, we talked about this before, is kind of like, honestly, the sixth option on this team. You know, like you have so many players in front of him that can score. Like, obviously, Drew Holiday could give you these numbers, but that's not his role here in Boston. His role is mainly defense and kind of to give you that quick three in the corner. I feel like with Drew Holiday too, I wrote this down. He looked like Milwaukee Drew tonight. I know that one year when we made that playoff run, when we played Milwaukee in 7 games, I was scared about Drew Holiday because he did stuff like this every night. So we saw kind of flashback to Milwaukee Drew Holiday, which I loved tonight. And I think that was simply because, you know, we were down Jaylen Brown and Porzingis, down some scores for sure. And, you know, it was kind of a slack off night. And tonight, Drew Holiday is like, all right, give me the ball. I'll shoot it tonight. Let's have a Drew Holiday night tonight. So I loved his performance, and I was very impressed with his play tonight. And like I kind of said, just wrapping up on it again, he could do this. I feel like if you gave Drew Holiday the ball and gave him a bigger role, he could do this more frequently. But I think in Boston, his role isn't to do this necessarily. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think his role in Boston was ever to put up performances like this. Not at all. But at the same time, if Drew Holiday ever gave the Celtics a performance like this, say last season or even this season, he was somebody that just really provided extra for the Boston Celtics and really put that cherry on top of what was really just a junk food arrangement of other options the Celtics had on the offensive end of the floor, specifically Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, of course, your all-star scorers, Kristaps Porzingis, a prolific offensive player for the Celtics. Also, Derek White, he's taken a step up within his scoring game as well. And so, looking at Drew Holiday and where he slots into this Boston Celtics team, I think that Drew Holiday, anything he gives the Boston Celtics, it's extra on the offensive end of the floor. He's almost like an Al Horford in that sense for the Boston Celtics, where if he's giving the Celtics something like 25 points the way he did tonight, which he hasn't done often, if at what not at all this season. This is his season high. 25 points tonight, Drew Holiday, March 14th. Season high of 25 points. Previous high was 23 against Memphis. So he's not done this at all this season. So, you know, when Drew Holiday actually does this, it's a huge boost to the Boston Celtics. And we saw that a lot, saw that play out a lot for the Celtics last year, yet this year just really hasn't happened in the same way for Drew Holiday and the Boston Celtics. And tonight's game, we saw differently, and we saw in that Memphis game earlier in the season, differently from Drew Holiday. A Memphis game earlier, Celtics lost within their schedule. Tonight, the Celtics, there's a much different vibe within the air. And I don't know if the Celtics actually win this game without Drew Holiday and his early efforts of giving the Celtics an early lead, because I thought that early lead was important to the Boston Celtics and their ability to close out this entire game. Looking at this game in its entirety, if the Celtics don't have a lead early on, there's that sense of control goes completely out the door. Early in this game, the Boston Celtics gained control of the game by going up 14 points. And from that spot, the Celtics from there on out, they controlled the game. They allowed Miami to come back in the game, but even when Miami came back, they were harboring only up to a 5-point lead, and the Celtics still felt they were very much in the game and were very much going to come back within the game, even when they were down 5 points. But that early portion of the game put the Celtics up 14 and allowed the Celtics to kind of play with their food. And that early lead came from Drew Holiday. And that's what Drew Holiday gave the Boston Celtics tonight, is that early lead, and which eventually led the Celtics to kind of relaxing a little bit across the floor. And sometimes that relaxation for the Boston Celtics, it's not good. It's really not good, because we see them slack off in a game like tonight, but at the same time, it does give them some cushion to kind of go out there and not play as intense as they want. And that's where the debate comes in, surrounding the entire team in general of, well, right now the team, they want to preserve their intensity, their energy for playoff time. That makes sense to me. Okay, it makes sense for an older squad, a veteran-led squad, to want to preserve themselves for playoff time. Yet, at the same time, I look at that and we were talking about it. That could be the building of bad habits when you're going every single game in the regular season without playing intense for a full 48 minutes. When you're, oh, okay. Did you see that? Did you
Yeah, we
see
got some flickering of the lights.
there's been some flickering, I will say. There's been flickering all day. It's been windy all day. It's been like,
Those days suck because it's like, are we gonna lose power? Or are we not? What are we doing here?
no, it's almost like, when are we doing this? Like, all right, can we just move on with it? Like, all right, here we go. Everything's charged up. I had everything on chargers beforehand. So
some battery packs too. You got the battery packs over
yeah,
there.
I actually do have a couple. Yes. So
There it goes again.
I don't know. I don't know.
We're gonna need
I wish I could be outside. I wish we were like a severe weather live stream. I'd be outside right now.
Yeah, you would be out there like with
I'd be in a rain. I'd be in this
tornado
coat. I'd be in this coat. I'd be outside. I gotta say, shout out to all the people who cover severe weather out there, whether you're on the road or not. I mean, that's
all right. I'm gonna steer off, but I'm gonna go right back in. I saw like the videos of them in the cars doing it, and that's crazy. I don't know how they, I don't know how what. Shout out to them. That's dedication.
Storm chasers. It's another. I don't know. There's some professions out there, which storm chasing, the profession of it is like, it's kind of like this, in the sense of like, you got your like high ups in the industry, but then you have your people who are just kind of out there with the camera, right? And a car, but it's a different. It takes a different person to do that kind of thing. Same thing with, like, say if you're like a motorcycle racer, like you're going 200 miles around a bend. It's like you got to be a different type of person to lay a bike down on the ground going 200 miles an hour around a 90-degree turn. Like, that's just a different type of thing. Like, same thing for the NBA. Like, let me say that right now. You got to be a different type of person. Say if you're Jason Tatum, it's like you got to be a different type of person to play LeBron James straight up in your first game as a rookie and go out there and play well and go out there and play with confidence. Like, that is just, there's some, every little profession takes something different. I will say that.
Oh, for sure. Like with the Boston Celtics and building bad habits, like you were mentioning. Sorry, I had to steer back on. I know I got off topic with it. I'm sorry.
No, trust me. I'm good right now. We are so, this show has been so all over. I shouldn't say all over the place, because we did a good job of steering it in the right direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just chaos to me right now. It's like I hear ice hitting the basement window. I hear sirens outside. I got like this flickering going on. I'm like, I think we're good. We're good from a tornado right now. Okay, I'll say this officially, folks, for everybody listening out there. We're good when it comes to a tornado. A tornado is not going to hit me in this area right now, okay, or anybody around me right now.
Okay, that's good.
Not hitting us, but hail, wind,
and wind are.
I don't know if you can hear it right now. Oh my
gosh! I do.
I don't know if you can hear it.
No, I could hear it. I could hear it.
It's actually becoming loud in here.
That's
already.
like ice chunks. That looks like it sounds like big chunks. Holy cow!
Ugh.
It's a rough
When your
night.
car is just outside.
I mean, for two reasons, like you said, with the storm that's going on with you and the Boston Celtics. I mean, like look at the night. I love what you said earlier. If you were not a diehard fan, you were not watching this game tonight. And the just wow. I hear it. That sounds like big hail chunks though, just off your roof.
That is on the basement window. Like
It's on the basement window.
yeah.
So
wow. See, this is the moment where I'm like, I really want to go look at this storm. This will be a legendary post game one day because first of all,
we're covering a storm.
You just took over the post game when I had to dip on out of here, which was legendary in itself. But then secondarily, it's like this will always be seen as like, yeah, I think Rob's in Miami right now, so he's actually down where the Celtics are. It's like he's in Miami. Celtics are rolling down the season. They just pull out this half-ass win. I got to evacuate the studio because of a tornado warning. I got now just
prayers with you. I'm glad you're safe. You and your cat. I'm glad that you guys are down there safe. No joke. Like you hear it.
I should have set up the show in the basement. Should have moved ahead of time.
Glad.
But regardless, the Celtics tonight, they beat the Miami Heat 103-91. Now let's see what else we can get when it comes to this game. Talk about real quick before we head on off of the show. But the Celtics, now they played the Miami Heat in the first round last year.
Yep.
5 games, lost game 2 to the Miami Heat at home. Otherwise, the other 4 games were not a question for the Boston Celtics. Now, this year, the Miami Heat,
I think he might have lost power. He's frozen on my end. I'm not sure if he's still talking, but I'm going to take it over. I think what he was mentioning was that last year, I mean, you saw them have that one loss, and obviously Jimmy Butler not being a power went out. Yep, power went out. So, all right, perfect. I got it. So last year, obviously, you saw with the Boston Celtics, they had that one game, Jimmy Butler obviously being out for that series. And I think with the Boston Celtics, that's kind of essentially what it is this year. I mean, you got to look at it. This game was so boring because no Jimmy. I think Seamus already mentioned it earlier that it's kind of a rebuild for the not for the Boston Celtics, for the Miami Heat in a sense, because they're still trying to figure out their team. They're trying to see kind of what clicks and what doesn't. And essentially it's one where they have to rebuild because Jimmy Butler, I'm not saying he was the main source in this team, but you guys know it was when you watch the Miami Heat, it was Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. And obviously you see now it's kind of like, you know, this was more so a boring game. Like if you're a diehard Boston Celtics fan, you're going to get up and watch this game, especially for the rivalry, for one, and for two, you're going to watch it just because. Oh,
all right. My power is out. My power is out. Well, that's just how it goes. We saw the flickering.
Yeah, I was trying to guess your take. I guessed it the best I could. I said that the Boston Celtics is kind of like a boring one, and they blew them out last year because of no Jimmy Butler, and essentially that's kind of what the Miami Heat are again this year. They're Jimmy Butler-less, and now they got to rebuild it back up. So essentially, you would have got up and watched it if you're a diehard Celtics fan. If not, then you're looking past this game. And I think that's what the Boston Celtics were kind of doing tonight. And that's kind of why you see the score being what it was. I feel like this had the capability to be a blowout game, but instead the Boston Celtics are like, it's kind of that we're going to move past this one.
Yeah, and honestly, the way the show's going right now, on my end of the floor,
I think it's prayers
We're
for
gonna have
you.
to-
I'm glad you're safe. And
We're
Yeah.
it's like the whole day was perfect. Okay, the whole day was. I shouldn't say like the like for the show. I'm saying like it was windy outside, but there wasn't
like
any storms. Like nothing going on. Right? It was like okay, I'm getting another. We're getting more alerts here. I'm hearing more alerts.
I think that's just saying it's time.
Yeah, definitely. I'm saying the whole afternoon, it was nice outside. Yeah, it was windy, whatever, but it was nice, great.
Yeah.
And then literally,
Oh,
there it goes.
oh, geez. Look at that. Emergency. All right. Well,
All right. Well, we'll be on here a lot more this next week and these next 15 games talking about the Boston Celtics.
Oh, I think we lost him again. I'm not sure. I'll kind of try to wrap up the outro for him though. But yeah, we'll be back on. We have some upcoming games coming up, 2 against Brooklyn.
All right,
and I tried to get the outro for you right there, but yeah,
it was the alert came through on multiple devices, but we'll have a lot more Celtics content out to you guys this week. And here we got more sirens going off right now. Oh my goodness! But we got more Celtics content coming out this week for everybody. More post games on the horizon. We've talked about the Celtics a lot lately. We just talked about the Celtics for 2.5 hours the other night on the Jazz post game. Tonight going to be a little bit shorter because of the circumstances going on with myself right now.
We'll make up for it.
No, but tonight the Boston Celtics, I mean, they did us a favor. They went and won against the Miami Heat. A win is a win. You said it earlier. They didn't give us a performance where they came out and they inexplicably lose this game. We have to talk about all these concerns with the Boston Celtics and blah 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 blah. Tonight, the Boston Celtics came out, beat the Miami Heat 103-91 in this game. Really controlled for most of tonight. Drew Holiday, you see at the top of the screen, our player spotlight tonight. Drew Holiday, just fantastic in his role. Hasn't done that too much this season yet. When it does happen for the Boston Celtics, it's a huge extra boost, just like some other players on the Celtics roster. Look at Al Horford. Look at Peyton Pritchard. When they have big performances, the Celtics, they're typically winners. Well, when Drew Holiday, when he has a big performance like he did tonight, the Celtics, huge boost from Drew. But the entire team came out, played not the best basketball.
It was a midnight tonight.
Again, a win is a win. But tomorrow night, guess what? We're back at it again tomorrow night against the Brooklyn Nets. The Boston Celtics play the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Eastern. So a little bit of an early start there, 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 Central. The Boston Celtics will be playing the Brooklyn Nets. I imagine the injury report will look pretty robust for that one, but the Celtics will be back tomorrow night. We will have you covered for that game. Hopefully a lot better tomorrow. No tornado warnings, no tornadoes going on in the area for tomorrow in the forecast. So hopefully that's not something that is affecting us, but shouldn't. Tomorrow, Saturday night, against the Brooklyn Nets, the Boston Celtics travel back up to New York before traveling back home for a home and home against the Brooklyn Nets. So a little 2-game mini series against the Nets. We will have you here covered on the Celtics Talk Weekly post-game show, but that is going to do it for us tonight, of course. I am your host, Seamus Zarling. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. My bad. Nope, don't play that one. Play this one. There we go. I am your host, Seamus Zarlingo, alongside of me, Griffin Aldrich tonight. There we go. Gotta get the point right. But as I always say to everybody, thank you all for listening, and go